Wednesday, July 19th, 2017, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I'd like to talk a little bit about geopolitics and also the gold market, physical gold, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, the Russians, the Chinese, and all the demonization of Russia that we've seen lately, not only in the US, but also here in the UK. So, and the reason I'm doing this video is because one of my viewers, Anders, subscribers, he noted that the biggest Russian bank started trading physical gold in the Shanghai Gold Exchange. So I had a look into it, and he asked me, could this be triggering the rise in precious metals in the last week or so? I mean, if you remember well, until a week or so ago, we traded down to 1205, and now we're back to around 1240. So we've rebounded a bit, not huge. It's not like Bitcoin at the moment or cryptocurrencies. So I had a look, and I've seen, and I found a couple of sources who talked about this story. The first source was actually almost a week ago, and it's from Reuters. And remember, Reuters is a news agency that's been related to the banking elite for like 150 years. They've been around for a long time. They're based in the UK. And their story about a week ago is Russia's Sberbank, begins physical gold trading on Shanghai Exchange. It's the biggest Russian bank, and it's state-owned. And the story just says Russia's biggest bank, Sberbank, said on Thursday its Swiss subsidiary had begun trading physical gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And it says Sberbank was granted international membership of the Shanghai Exchange in September last year, and in July completed a pilot transaction with 200 kilograms of gold kilobars sold to the local financial institutions. And it goes on to say, Sberbank plans to expand its presence on the Chinese precious metals market and anticipates delivery of 5 to 6 tons of gold to China in the remaining months of 2017. So the way they've portrayed this, Reuters, and that's it. That's a really short article. They haven't gone into it that much. They've just portrayed that Russia wants to deliver physical gold to China. But I think there's a lot more to it. And, there's another article I found from yesterday, and it's from livetradingnews.com, and it's by someone called Paul Ebeling. And the title of this article is Russia and China setting energy business Russia and China setting up to transact energy business in gold. So he goes on to say, that Sberbank started trading in the Shanghai Exchange. But he also goes on to note that this is like a platform. The Shanghai Gold Exchange is a platform for Russia and China to basically deal in gold when they're trading. Because, for example, when the Russians sell oil or gas to the Chinese, they will receive renminbi, or Chinese yuan. The Russians can take that yuan onto the Shanghai Exchange and sell it for physical gold. So it's almost like having a gold standard through the Chinese, the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And this guy asks another interesting question. He asks whether China is going to be trying to do this with the other Middle Eastern countries it deals with. Like it buys most of its oil comes from Saudi Arabia. It buys a lot of oil from Iran, from the United Arab Emirates, and from Qatar, and it buys gas from there as well. So it's a very interesting question, and it just shows how this is a threat to the dollar as a reserve currency. Why? Well, because there will be less demand for dollars if the Chinese can convince, you know, Middle Eastern countries to deal in yuan, and then these Middle Eastern countries will also be able to take the yuan, sell it for physical gold, and when you have physical gold, you have a neutral currency that is not political. Right now, with the dollar as a reserve currency, the United States can, basically kill off your economy by restricting the movement, financial movements and transactions and sanctions with the US dollar. But with gold, it's accepted everywhere. They can't do that. So it's interesting that this article by Paul Ebeling, he touches upon the Reuters, facts, but he actually expands and goes on to ask whether, let's say the the Chinese are able to convince the Saudis to start transacting in yuan, and then the Saudis start, using the Shanghai Gold Exchange to exchange that yuan for physical gold. That could trigger all the other Gulf countries and also Iran to start doing that. And that also plays hand in hand with the so-called China's new Silk Road vision, which was revealed about 3 years ago. I think it was by a state-owned newspaper called Xinhua News Agency. Well, it's the Xinhua News Agency. I might be pronouncing this wrong. But basically, China wants to develop $1 trillion infrastructure to do trade throughout Asia and into Europe, and also to do trade, and that's overland, railroads and roads, and also a maritime, Silk Road through the Indian Ocean into Bangladesh, into East Africa, through the Suez Canal. So there's all this talk as well, and looking at the population of the world by continent. Asia's got 4.1 billion. Africa's got 1 billion. Europe has got 738 million. So this Silk Road could eventually be a threat to, the Anglo-American empire. North America, 460 million. If China's able to expand the trade with all these countries in Asia and the Middle East and even Europe, and convince them to use their own currency and be able to, convert that currency easily into gold, it will definitely lower the demand for the paper dollar. And I'm not saying the dollar is going to disappear or collapse. The British pound was reserve currency until the early 20th century. It's still around. The dollar will still be around, but it just won't be as important. And I think it will be worth less and pay less. And America will probably indirectly be a good thing for America, because America will have to start, producing and manufacturing and getting out of this trade deficit hole that it is in, because that's what being the reserve currency of the world does to you. You need to keep running. You're able to run huge deficits because there's always demand for your currency. But if China actually is able to come in there and with the yuan and also the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Silk Road, able to expand its trade and influence in Asia, the Middle East, and even Europe, that could be a blessing in disguise for America, actually, because right now the burden of the reserve currency is, for the general public in the US, it's not good because it's created a huge mountain of debt. For the elite, the establishment, it's a, how can I say, a threat. And it's interesting because I looked into this, Sberbank gold trading. I looked into the Silk Road. And then I, went into the Daily Telegraph, a major newspaper here in the UK this morning. And the headline at the time was, online, was Russians hacked energy companies on election day, GCHQ claims. Well, GCHQ is the equivalent of the NSA in the US, and they're claiming now that the Russians are hacked energy companies on election day. And the other interesting article that I saw in the Telegraph, and I didn't read it because it's a premium service and I don't want to pay for the Telegraph, but the headline says it all. And it came out today, which is interesting, with all this talk, all these stories in the background. And it says, it's by Con Coughlin. And he says, as long as Vladimir Putin is president, Russia will be a greater threat than ISIL or ISIS. I mean, how can you compare Russia and President Putin with ISIS? It just seems crazy. But when you look in the background, what's happening financially, what do when you want to, when you're being threatened by, powerful countries? The Anglo-American Empire. You try to denigrate them. You try to create stories, to say that Putin is evil or worse than ISIS or the next Hitler. So it's really interesting. So thanks, Anders, for giving a head up about Sberbank. It will be very interesting to see what happens in the next few months if other countries like Saudi Arabia or Iran start dealing in the Shanghai Gold Exchange. We'll have to see. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and watch me on steemit.com as well, steemit.com. I'll talk to you later. Bye.